Brad Treliving and the Toronto Maple Leafs stay busy just a day after free agency opens by making three more signings. And it shows that Brad Treliving wants to change the landscape on the back end for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to get into these three signings and more later on this episode. Before I start, I just want to give a shout out to the 22.2% you guys that are subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be here all offseason in the next season, giving you updates from all around the league. But with that, we'll get straight into this topics. And the first one is saying how the Toronto Maple Leafs signed three players to one-year contracts. All three signings carry an AAV of $775,000. Now, this is coming from one of the lead reporters in David Alter. Now, the first one that was signed was Cedric Pare. Cedric Pare is a defenseman, and the Leafs did sign him to his one-year deal at $775,000 AAV. Now, the biggest thing is, and you're going to see a trend going through all these players, is there's one reoccurring thing, and that thing being is size. We see Cedric is 6'4", 25 years old, a left-handed shot from Laval. When you're looking through this, he was a 6th-round pick back in 2017 by the Boston Bruins, and he hasn't found his footing in the league. We see he's had multiple seasons in the Q. He won a championship with the Sea Dogs, coming up to play for the Utah Grizzlies in the ECHL, 2 years with the HL Senators. You can see he put up 10 points and 3 points. We see that he played in the ECHL, but the last two seasons his production has picked up. Just back in 2022-2023 with the Colorado Eagles, he put up 8 goals, 13 assists for 21 points. In 7 playoff games, he had 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 total points. Last season with Colorado as well, 61 games played, 14 goals, 21 assists for 35 points. He had 58 penalty minutes, and this is a big body defenseman. 6'4", 212 pounds. It just shows on how Brad Treliving and company want to continue this just adding of big defensemen. We've seen it all offseason into this season, and it just puts Perrier back onto the back end in as a minor league player or a player that could get the call up, and it's just going to continuously get better. Now we see another depth signing with a more familiar name, Philppe Myers. Now when you do see Myers, this was a guy that the Toronto Maple Leafs once again signed on his one-year deal at $775,000, and we see that he is 6'6". He's 213 pounds. He is a big defenseman. Myers has spent more time in the NHL, 27 years old, and he's coming off a contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning. When you're looking through, you've seen at certain points Myers was consistently getting minutes with the Philadelphia Flyers. Back when he first came into the league and broke in 2018-19, 21 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. We see the production jump up even more in 2019-20 when he played with the Flyers. 4 goals, 12 assists for 16 total points. Next year in 44 games, 11 total points with 1 being a goal. And you can see where he continuously jumped around the league, not being able to fully stay into a lineup. We've seen that he played 5 games with the Tampa Bay Lightning during the span of 2023 to 2024 before playing the rest of the year on Syracuse. On Syracuse, he had 4 goals, 19 assists, 23 points, and he went into the playoffs in 8 games, putting up 3 assists. Now, the big thing with bringing in a guy like Myers and adding more of these pieces, like I said, in Cedric as well, is that the Leafs are getting bigger. We know Kyle Dubas focused on skill, analytics, fast players, players that had good underlying numbers, but it seems like Brad Treliving, especially after last trade deadline into the playoffs, wants to continue the trend of these hard-nosed, big defenseman that can't be pushed around. Like I said, with Myers being 6'6", you see a guy like Perrier come in at 6'4". These are just multiple signings the Leafs have done just to add extra size. And I know I continuously say extra size, but these guys are massive. Now, the next signing is a tad bit smaller, but they do bring in a guy with a little more experience, and that is Dakota Mermis. With Dakota, this is a guy the Leafs once again, and I'll say for the last time, signed to his one-year deal at $775,000, just in case you skipped through and missed the first couple. But this was another signing. This was a guy that actually played 47 games for the Minnesota Wild in this just past season. 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 total points. We've seen him have multiple seasons with the Minnesota Wild, never really getting in. 2 games played, 2 games played, 10 games played for the New Jersey Devils. But it seemed he found a bit of his footing last season with 47 games played. Now, he's only 6 foot. He is a left-handed shot, 30 years old. So he is older than Myers. He is older than Perrier. But Dakota is a guy that might actually make it into the Leafs lineup for a couple of games in a pinch. Brad Treliving really focused on the fact that he wanted to continue to sign players for depth, for insurance, to have more players within this organization. And it seems with a guy like Dakota, this is going to be the type of player that actually might get into a couple of regular season games. Do I expect Dakota to be a guy that's an everyday Leaf? No. Are these just depth signings? For the most point, yes. But a guy like Dakota is 30, so his ceiling isn't a lot higher. But when you are working your way back and looking at a guy like Myers being 27, he still has more to give. When you work your way back even more, you have a guy that's 25 years old. These guys still have room to grow. Obviously, I'm not coming on here and saying, hey, these guys are the future of the team. They're going to blow up, be outstanding, and do more than they already did. But these depth signings, showing that Treliving, the group, Shanahan, everyone in between in management wants to make this team bigger, wanting to make this team harder to play against, going out, getting these vets, guys that will throw the body, guys that are big. Big is the word for this offseason, and I do continue to get into that with the, no, wrong one. Didn't have that, but anyways, with that, it does get into the fact that this team continues to get bigger. I'm so sorry about that. I've done too many videos today. But when you're looking at these guys, obviously a guy like Cristana being 6'4", OEL is an offensive guy. He's not going to be super physical, but he's not a small defenseman either. You see Hakanpää, a guy that comes in at 6'7". Benoit was already here at 6'3" or 6'4". Cale Weber was a guy they acquired last offseason who was a big body defenseman, sorry, last trade deadline. You see all these guys coming through, the new guys in the system. He wants to add snarl, he wants to add grit. And it isn't just stopping at just people that are on the Leafs roster or people that are expected to be within the organization, but you work your way down into the minors as well. Obviously, Myers is a guy here at 6'6", another big defenseman. And just overall, this team's landscape is changing, and it's really starting to show with some of these depth signings. We've seen a guy like Ryan Reeves go out, be picked up, a guy that's big, a guy that's physical, a guy that wants to fight. Treliving wants to sprinkle on what kind of magic dust he has to bring in this new look Toronto Maple Leafs team. This new look, hard to play, where you have grit, skill, scoring, everything in between. We see the goaltending change. We see the forwards changing. Everything's about to change for this team, and it's going to be for the best. It all starts with a brand new coach, and it all starts with a new GM. But what's your guys' thoughts on these three signings? Do you think any of these guys are going to get into games? Do you think Dakota might get in? Do you think Myers has a chance to grow and maybe be the next 6'7" Tyler Myers and being on the Toronto Maple Leafs? What's your guys' thoughts on all this? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll get into the last topic today, which is everyone's favorite, and I'm sure I spoiled it a second ago, which is comments of the day. And the comment today comes from a good friend of the show, Daniel. He says, I hope Robinson stays a Leaf. And I completely agree with this, Daniel. We were kind of talking about where Robinson has just asked to be traded for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He doesn't intend to sign, but it seems like Treliving and the group wants to keep him. Craig Berube could use this guy in a system that Sheldon Keefe didn't know how to use him. I think Robertson has a chance to go out and score maybe 25, 30 goals with his team with the right line mates in the top six or in the middle six. If you're burying a kid like this on the fourth line, it's going to be hard to produce. But what's your guys' thoughts on all this? Let us know down in the comments, and you could be featured on the next episode like our friend Daniel did today. While you're down there, leave a like, share this with your friends. We'll be back maybe tonight with another episode as the news continues on. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, and take care.